Today, we're going to be creating the most basic Rust console or Rust electrical circuit. This is going to be a light that turns on when it's dark out. So to do this, we're going to need a ceiling light, a switch, an XOR switch, a battery, any type will do, but we're going to use a small rechargeable battery, a splitter, and then up top I've got a solar panel. So everything's been laid out. We're going to just wire this in and go over sort of how I'm thinking through things as we do this. Once you get this basic circuit down, you can start to go to more advanced things, but this is the most basic circuit that any Rust player should be able to create. And look, if you're not using electricity, you're sleeping on something amazing. So learn from this and keep going, because there's many amazing things you can create, and as time goes on, we're going to be going over more and more of them. So first off, when it comes to this larger solar panel, look at the location of the solar panel. Do you notice how there's sun directly on it? You see it's bright here. Over here, that would be shade. You'll want that because that means your solar panel is getting electricity. So now let's go to the electrical output. Let's connect our sort of wiring tool to it. Let's bring it back in. Let's keep the wiring neat. So I'm going to just place it right here, run it over to this crack, run it right down the crack so it's barely noticeable that we've got that wire in there. And now what we're going to do is duck down and sort of pinpoint it right here, run it right along this wall, this sort of crack right up there, lock it in. We're going to run it over here, and we'll bring this down and connect it to the splitter. What this is going to do is take power in. It's going to split it into 3 outputs. We only care about 2 of them, but there are going to be 3 outputs because that's just how splitters work. So the first one is going to go to a battery. What's going to happen with this is the splitter is basically going to be, directing electrical current to the battery, and the battery is going to be charging. So when it's light out, the battery's charging. When it's dark out, that battery is going to be used to power our light. Now, the other side of this splitter is going to be going to that XOR switch. So the way the XOR switch works is when it gets a signal from one of these, it's going to be green. So when it gets a power source from one of these inputs, it's going to be green, which means power goes through. If it gets a power source or power input from both of these inputs, watch what happens. It turns red, which means power is not coming through. So you can see right here, there's power coming in, no power coming out. The reason for this is because it will only work, it's only going to send power through when there's power coming in from one of these wires. When there's power coming in from both of the wires, it doesn't let any power go through. So what this means is when our solar panel is charging the battery and coming through here, so you've got power coming from the solar panel, goes to the splitter, it goes into out of these 2 outputs. One of them goes into the battery, charges the battery. One of them goes into the splitter and basically gives it current. The battery is always going to be giving this splitter current unless it is completely decharged, which should never happen. So basically, once the battery is giving the splitter, the battery is always going to be on. And when it's daylight, the other input A, is going to be on, which means this switch, this XOR switch, won't be on. If that makes sense. So let's go ahead and drop this in. Electrical input on. And let's wire this up here. Boom. So now it is connected to our light, and we've got a basic lighting system. So if we turn it on, you're going to notice that nothing comes through. The reason for that is because of this battery. So if we go ahead and disconnect this, let's clear that, the light goes on because there's no longer any power coming from the battery into that XOR switch. So let's go ahead and wire things up again. When I connect it, the light goes off because it's getting power from 2 sources into these 2 inputs, and when you're getting power from both of them, it's just going to mean that the switch is off. It's not sending any power through. So XOR in electrical engineering, because that's what this actually comes down to, means that you're either getting an input from one or the other. If you're getting input from both or neither, the switch is off. If you're getting an input from either input A or input B, the switch is on. Hopefully that makes sense, but that is a very basic light that will turn on when it is dark out.